you could have idols of all kinds of shapes and sizes, and I have a really hard time imagining how other people have the idols they do, whether it's new knitting needles or a really fancy bike or a really fancy hockey stick or the brand new fishing rod. People can make an idol out of just about anything, and other people's idols seem a little silly to us. My idols seem completely practical, reasonable. Don't our own seem like that? They seem very reasonable. Maybe when other people gather around our idols, it can be very easy to say, oh, okay, well, this is worth worshiping. This car is definitely worthy of our worship. How we see something is worthy of worship in our idols. In the story this morning, that was very true of the Israelites too, because the culture that they had joined into in Canaan practiced this kind of idolatry. So it was very easy for them to see, well, yeah, we have our God, but these things are worthy of worship as well. And they were silly little stone and maybe brass-coated idols that they were worshiping. So we see Elijah saying, how long are you going to waver in your opinion? If Lord is God, follow him. If Baal, follow him. And he puts these idols to the test, the idols of the culture. And he says, okay, you've got your altar, I've got mine, and we're not going to light them. Instead, when they built his altar, you see, I don't know whether they're siyas or si, we were trying to figure out what the Hebrew word for it is, but a lot of water was poured on top of Elijah's altar. A lot of water was poured on after they built it, just to make sure that this was no accident, that when he called on the name of God, it was going to light because of God, not because of it was a dry spell and some little spark came up or something. But when they're dancing around, you can see that they're slashing themselves. They're doing all kinds of things to try and get Baal's attention, and Elijah even taunts them. There's one translation which is I believe a pseudonym. Elijah asks, "Is your God busy?" But the word busy was used for going to the bathroom. So he's like, maybe your God's gone to the bathroom, and that's why he can't hear you. So he's really trying to get them provoked a little bit to say, hey, maybe you're just not doing this enough. Maybe he's real, but maybe you're not doing enough worship or slashing or dancing or something. And then we see a dramatic answer to his prayer. When fire falls from heaven, and it not only burns up that wood, the oxen that was a sacrifice, but it burns up the rocks and the soil. I'm imagining kind of a lightning strike, like burning a hole in the ground and melting up all the water. A very dramatic example that God has been put to the test and really wants to show them their idols are useless. We might be a little bit afraid to do that with our idols. I know my idols can be very sophisticated, and it's not necessarily their shininess or their functionality that I idolize, but it is that they do something for me. And I think that was the idea of the Baal idol too. It would do something for you. And I realized that maybe at the core of my idolatry is comfort. That I want these things to show me some comfort. So I'm going to show you a video clip here in a second, which really convicted me, that I saw in my last church, that was revealing to me how my comfort had become an idol for me. And I'm not sure what your idol is, but let's watch this video here quickly.
This is Jack. Jack is happy. Jack is happy because he's in his comfort zone. Go, Jack, go. Jack loves to go to church. Go to church, Jack. Go! Jack used to enjoy visiting with friends over a good meal at church. However, he stopped going to meals at church because meeting new people is out of Jack's comfort zone. Jack used to volunteer in the children's ministry. However, he stopped that because children are outside of his comfort zone. Oh, look at them giggle. That's gonna make Jack cry. Jack tried attending a small group one time. However, the leader said, "Jack, why don't you share with us?" And that, you guessed it, was outside of his comfort zone. Jack has many dreams, desires, and ambitions. He wants his life to count for something. However, that will never happen Because life lived inside the comfort zone is life lived outside of God's will.
It's a funny video, but that really cut to my heart when I watched it. And I thought about some things that I had kept as comfort zones in my own life that were idols for me, that were keeping me from doing what God wanted me to do. And that was a really hard video to watch, even though it was kind of funny. There's a famous Dr. Phil line, and how's that working for you? When we talk to our neighbors, when we come up to those good folks who look so polished and clean and don't seem very interested in the gospel or Jesus at all, a lot of times it's because their idols are really working well for them. They feel very comfortable. They don't really have any desire to change. Why would they want to change or get off smoking this or get off doing that if it's making them feel so good? And whereas they might look back at us, and a favorite mentor to me, SkyeJethani, asked this question to Christians: how's this working for you? And they might look back at us and see that instead of it being a joy to serve as Christians for us, we serve a little bit like the prodigal son's brother. We look at that prodigal son with jealousy. He went off and got a bunch of nice stuff, didn't he? And he got to sleep with some prostitutes, and he got to spend all Dad's money. So he was pretty lucky. That's how the second brother thinks. I never get a party. He was after Dad's stuff. And he feels pretty jealous when he can't get a party. He feels pretty sad. His work for his dad has been drudgery. It's been boring. It's been hard work. And he doesn't feel like he's getting rewarded for it. And if that's where we are in our faith, if we're just serving along in dull drudgery, trying to plug away for God, why would anybody be attracted to that? They would ask the same question to us: so how's that working for you? And the answer would be, not that great. I guess I don't want what you have. You don't seem to have many benefits to knowing Jesus or much joy in the Lord if you're just this jealous brother. I've been in that place in my life too. I've been that person who, through my childhood, felt like everybody outside the church was getting it better than we had. They were having a lot more fun. And instead, when you look at maybe the woman at the well, and I'm going to jump around a little bit as we look at idolatry this morning, but let's look at her reception to Jesus. She doesn't have that neighbor's point of view at all who says, oh no, I'm fine, I'm not interested. She's very interested because she's in trouble and she's thirsty. She's thirsty and she's in great need. She realizes she's not accepted by her community. She realizes that there is something very wrong in her life which needs a savior. And because of that trouble, she's very open to hear what Jesus says. And she's very excited about the change that Jesus can make too, because he's going to offer her living water, something that will completely change her. And that's very important. Now we see the same is true in Elijah's story. We're jumping back there now. You see there's been famine in the land for 3 years. There probably isn't a lot of food going around. And that water they poured on his altar, that was pretty hard to come by, I wouldn't guess. Because there's been such a famine, no rain, and people are starting to wonder, and it's not working too well for them. That's why you see this openness to this test with Elijah, I think. Now, when we face our own idolatry, our own things, and I'm not accusing you all of having hobbies that are idols, but let's say they are bigger things, the things those hobbies do. Maybe it's comfort. Maybe they put you at the center of your life rather than Jesus. Maybe they make your concerns much greater than Jesus' concerns in your life. We might hear in a sermon like this, oh yeah, okay, I should really change. That's really not a good thing for me. I really want to change. And what Dallas Willard, the man in the picture here, has pointed out is that even though we may have an intention, like our sermon may be very convicting, and we say, okay, yeah, I'd like to change, and we may even have the means. In fact, in Canada, we have quite a bit of means of ways to change. You might have a Bible study you could join, or you could take this DVD out or something like that. Then we still may be missing the vision. Now, Dallas Willard uses the example of learning a language. He says learning Spanish. Let's say you want to learn Spanish. Your means might be that you have this Learn Spanish book or this Learn Spanish DVD, and your intention might be, hey, I'm going on a vacation to Spain in a couple weeks. But unless if you have a vision of what your life will be like afterwards when you know Spanish and you can use it and you converse, unless if you can see the usefulness in that, you'll probably pick up the book and get bored and put it down again. And it's the same for us. Unless we have some kind of a vision of how life would truly be better if we were to actually enact this change, often that's where it stops. And we stop at the vision of what our life would be like without the idols in it. Maybe we are missing it, like that second prodigal son, and we think, well, I kind of enjoy these fun things. Why would I want to get rid of those? Whereas going to God doesn't seem very attractive at all. I like this quote, and it says this: imaginary evil is romantic and varied, where real evil is gloomy, monotonous, barren, and boring. Imaginary good is boring, but real good is always new. It's marvelous. It's intoxicating. So I think of imaginary evil. We were talking about Minnow's video game on the way here. It's imaginary evil. You go and kill people and rob, and then you end up in jail and you make some money. Imaginary evil in your TV shows, too, can be pretty exciting as well. Maybe it's a little adultery or a little bit of something on the side. Seems very exciting to us. Or if we imagine that we were to accomplish some great thing or some scheme, it seems like we would be so delighted in it. Whereas behaving, that seems pretty dull, pretty boring to behave and be good. What this quote points out is a great truth that real good isn't like that. And real evil isn't like that either. Real evil, being in jail, is dull. Real evil of doing what we thought would make us happy, and then it doesn't, is dull. But real good, it brings life. In unexpected ways, it excites us, it renews us, and we have unexpected surprise in that. I think that part of our desires, the desires and our vision of what draw us towards idolatry, are a little bit like an alcoholic's. They're misinformed. They think, oh, well, this next drink will at least make me feel better now, or it will at least get me what I want. And the alcoholic who is thinking that, he has the wrong vision. He thinks that alcohol is the answer, even though it's destroyed his life, it's taken away maybe his family, his job, all kinds of things. He still sees the wrong vision. And we see the wrong vision too, as Christians sometimes too. We are informed in a culture which shows us a lot of the wrong vision. And I'm not just talking about commercials. Commercials are probably underrated, though, in their ability to influence, at least me anyway. Maybe not for you. I always say, commercials. I don't pay attention to the commercials. But over a lifetime, how many commercials do you think you've watched? And they're all little parables. Parables saying, hey, if you buy this, you'll be happy. Or if you wear this, you'll be happy. Or if you have this status, by getting this, you'll be happy. Imagine just a lifetime of being told that, how it rubs off. And then remember what I was saying about how your idolatry is validated when it's in a group? What if a whole bunch of people say, yeah, the Canucks, that's worth paying attention more than going to church? Or a whole bunch of people say, yeah, this NFL game, much more important than God. Or playing this video game is much more important than God. If a lot of people say that, it's easier to believe in our culture. Not to mention that my own heart doesn't really take me in the right direction either. I can't trust it. That's what I'm saying about the alcoholic who doesn't really know how to trust his heart. I can't trust my heart's desires. My own heart will lead me astray. It'll lead me to sin. It'll let me think that I'm getting the right thing, and it'll pull me away to the wrong thing. I know that I had a very poor vision of God when I was a teenager. I thought he was out to steal my fun. I thought he was out to try and just put a lot of rules that would maybe handicap my life. It wasn't until my eyes were opened, a vision of him, a relationship with him, that I truly got to know, wow, that's not God at all. He's here to redeem me. He's here to give me the best life I can have. He's here to use me. He's here because he loves me. I didn't have that vision of God at all. I couldn't trust my own heart. I couldn't trust my own desires. Let's imagine it this way. We have a couple people in our congregation. We mentioned Marina and her husband Daniel. And many of you guys know Chet, Valerie's brother, Barnaby's brother. Chet and Kiera are getting married. Have you guys watched them? It brings back memories because you see them look at each other's eyes, and their eyes are just like locked. They could look at each other's eyes for a long, long time. And I remember that with Lauren too. And even if you're not married or haven't even had a girlfriend or boyfriend, you know what that's like because all of our movies are about this. All of our greatest books, our greatest songs, we look to this and we prize it because we know there's something very special that God made there. Something very beautiful and powerful in the attraction and the beauty of it. And there's a place, a short period of our heart's time, where we can look into another person's soul and forgive everything wrong with them and see past all the faults and truly see their heart and know their heart and love it deeply and not be distracted by anything else, the NFL game that was playing or anything. Nothing is more important than just knowing that person's heart, and it's so special. That is a little picture, I believe. I believe God gave us that picture in New Love to show us what intimacy truly could be if we were to let it be everything. A little foretaste. The beauty that he made in the intimacy of sex, in the beauty of bodies not being ashamed, being naked, and being beautiful together, forgiving all the flaws, and knowing that person ultimately, and being hours and hours in conversation, and just in love, is, I believe, a foretaste of the kind of intimacy we can have with God. I got to admit, as a guy, that's a little mushy talk for me. And it's a little harder maybe for a guy to talk this way. It sounds a little emotional when we think about God and we think about this mushy stuff. And I believe there's an element to God which is very masculine as well. We sang in Holy, Holy, Holy that he is both mighty and merciful. And there is an element where he's not just a lover, but he's also a mighty lion as well. But I believe there's an intimacy which he wants to teach us in this. And he wants to open our vision to that. He wants to open our eyes to this, to a life with God. And where the other one fell short, where that newlywed love, I know that Marina and Daniel will be fighting pretty soon. And after a little while, they'll be sick of each other. I know that Kiera and Chet, they're going to have plenty of fights. And the love they have where they could stare at each other, it's not going to last, is it? It's going to be replaced by something else. And hopefully it won't be replaced by too much selfishness. And hopefully it won't be replaced by just putting up with each other, which is where some of our marriages end up. But in that foretaste, I think we have a picture of something with God which is much bigger than that, much greater than that. And that's the vision of being with God that I think that prodigal son found. Remember, the prodigal son goes away and he gets it all? Well, the prodigal son, I believe, has an advantage because he had the chance. He had the chance to see what all that money could buy. He had the chance to go and do everything he had wanted to, and it didn't satisfy him. And he came back to his dad and found that what he was looking for was there all along. But he had the wrong vision. He had the wrong desire. When God started to use me in my life, when he opened up my eyes and my heart to him, it was like everything that I did had a changed purpose. Now I was playing the drums before so I could be the best drummer in my school. Now I could play in the band, and I was sharing with all these other students and getting them excited about God. Before I was doing this, now I was being used by God, and it was filling my heart with joy rather than with conceit. I know that when we put our idols to the test, and it takes a bit of guts to do that, the prodigal son had a bit of guts to say to dad, hey, I want your inheritance now. But when we put them to the test, they break. Just like the fish god Dagon, I think that's how you say that in the Philistines' land, they thought, hey, well, we'll make God serve our God. We'll make God serve our idol. But what happened when they brought the ark, the presence of God, into this false temple to a stone statue? God showed them, hey, that's just stone, and he made it break and fall. And that's what can happen to our idols too. They can break and shatter before God in his presence, in his reality, the truth of him. Our little idols, they show to be nothing. Sometimes we've got to, in the way that we break our desire, we've got to pour out and let go of some of these idols. Not trust our desire towards whatever it might be and say, I can't trust myself. I've got to trust God instead. And see them for what they are, little pieces of stone. And even shatter them so that they can be broken. And that can open up our eyes to a different vision, a vision of God where his love is different. His love lasts. How many of you guys have been married for more than 30 years? Thank you, Minnow. I had no idea. I appreciate you telling me that for the first time. Some of you guys have been married for more than 30 years. Anybody over 40 years? Some of you over 40 years. We don't have any 50 anniversaries, do we? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Irv, you've got a 50. And yeah, Hank, you've had 50. Okay, we have some 50s. That takes a lot of patience, forgiveness, love, and it's a completely different skill set than being newlywed, isn't it? It's building love. It's not finding love out there somewhere. We've got to really shed that thinking, don't we? There's a lot of just lack of identity. There's a lot of just selfish desire. But there's a lot of building love that makes love last. And God wants to actually reopen our eyes and reinvent our image of what love even is. It's not naked bodies. It's not lust. It is something bigger, and it's something better. And it includes that huge beauty that he made, but it's something bigger than that. When we see the goodness of that and the worthiness of that, that's what helps us to smash the idols in our life, to get rid of them. Because let's be honest, God gave us this foretaste, and he also used a lot of these metaphors, as Dave keeps bringing up in the Bible, of a lover to show us he does not want to be cheated on. He does not like being cheated on with all these idols. He feels jealous. He loves us, and he hates it when we put these idols in his place. That will help us to want to shatter them, to want to get rid of these idols, and to see the division with him is worth it. It's better. Next slide, please, if it'll change. So, for those of you who have that long love, I think we need a little different picture even of heaven. Sometimes we have heaven's picture as maybe the second brother of the prodigal son. Oh, finally I'm going to get all of God's stuff. I'm going to get up there, and after I wait for God to die, I can't wait, then I'll get all his stuff, you know? That's the second brother's vision, isn't it? He just wants to get the estate. He wants all the stuff, and we think, oh, I can't wait for my mansion up there in heaven. But that's not heaven at all. It's not about God's stuff. It's about a relationship. And the prodigal son finds that relationship. He finds that he was missing it all the time in his dad. He finds that in the shedding of all that jealousy over all the fun that he wasn't getting from the idols, from the money, from everything else, he's able for the first time to come and have that embrace from dad, where he realizes that what he wanted from all that other stuff all the time has been there, and it's been hidden in Christ. I know it was hidden from my eyes, and maybe it's still partly hidden from some of your eyes. That what we really need, our vision is flawed like an alcoholic's, but what we really need is Jesus, the hidden Jesus, who's been here all along, right in our faces maybe, right in the open, right for everybody to see. Maybe we've been ignoring him. And that's where God can open our eyes and give us a different vision, a vision where it's worth it. Not for his stuff, not for any other reason, but to be with him, to know him, and to have the love that he's given us a little foretaste of here on earth. Not just for a little while, not just for a couple of years while it feels good, but for eternity. I want to close in prayer here and ask that maybe even for myself, because I need this sermon as much as any of you, if not more. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for that new smartphone, and it's not going to make me happy. And maybe for you, you've just got to do what I have to do, which is let go. Break the idols. One thing that helps me out is I'll imagine, okay, I've already got that idol, or I've already done that. Now where am I? Did it make me happy? Did it satisfy me? No. I'm in the same place I was. And maybe whatever is going to help you to do that, to smash and to let go and to break those idols. Let's pray this morning and ask God to work in our hearts to give us the vision that that's worth it, to do that. Father, I need this sermon, and I need your word from what Elijah did here. And I need to know that what you have is worth it, and what you have, the vision of being with you. I know time and time again that that's where my joy has come, when I've been with you, and when I've had that joy overflowing in my heart to share with others. And I pray that they could see it, that I'll know it, and that I won't trust my own desire of sin and be led away to useless things. But that you'll, in me, and in everybody here this morning too, that you'll open our eyes to a vision of what life with you can be and how good you are.